This is the oral narrative for the Geologic History of North Carolina by Brooke Boucher. North Carolina is comprised of three physiographic provinces, the Blue Ridge, the Piedmont, and the Coastal Plain. The Blue Ridge is a mountainous area with the highest elevations of the Appalachians. In North Carolina, the Blue Ridge extends 200 miles and is 15 to 55 miles wide. It makes up around 10% of the state. The Blue Ridge is identified in Map 1 as the blue shaded area. The Blue Ridge formed from several collisions of various plates throughout geologic time, with the oldest rocks dating to over 1 billion years old. The Blue Ridge contains assorted sedimentary rocks, igneous and metamorphic rocks that vary in age. The wide range of ages is testament to the multiple collisions and separations of landmasses seen throughout time. Located within the Blue Ridge province, North Carolina's highest elevation can be found at Mount Mitchell, coming in at 6,684 feet. This is the highest peak in the nation east of the Black Hills of South Dakota. The central portion of the state is the Piedmont, which extends from Alabama to New Jersey. It is 150 miles wide and is shaded orange on Map 1. The Piedmont and Blue Ridge provinces are separated along the Blue Ridge Escarpment, which is identified in Map 1. The escarpment is a clear demarcation in the topography as you move from the mountains into the foothills. The Piedmont is mostly metamorphic and igneous rocks that have been weathered and eroded. You can find the Carolina Slate Belt here, which speaks to the ancient volcanic activity of the region. Lithium schist, gneiss clay, sand, gravel, and gold can all be found in the Piedmont. Located here are several state parks and mining operations, which will be discussed in a later section. If you continue to move east across the state, you will pass over the Fall Zone. This is where you will find rapids and waterfalls. It is also the boundary between the Piedmont and the coast. The Coastal Plain is the largest province and accounts for almost 45% of North Carolina's surface area. During the Mesozoic, this region was a broad sloping area that was above sea level. During the Cenozoic, a shallow sea covered this coastal plain. It would regress and transgress many times, developing spectacular terraces through history. North Carolina is best represented by the following slough sequences: the Tippecanoe, the Kaskaskia, and the Absaroka. During these events, the Appalachian Mountains would consistently be uplifted and eroded. This map highlights the various rock units found at the surface in North Carolina. For a detailed list of the names of the rocks, their ages, and the percent of land that they cover, please check out the written narrative. In the written narrative, you will see 9 highlighted in yellow unconformities. These are gaps in the rock record for North Carolina. All but one of the unconformities comes from the Middle Proterozoic time. During this period, the Grenville orogeny would have occurred, helping to build the roots of what would become the Appalachian Mountains. Many of the sediments would have been weathered and eroded since they formed during the Grenville orogeny. Many terraces and slough sequences have occurred, helping to erode away with regressing seas, faulting and folding during orogenic events, or carrying these sediments out to sea by the current rivers that flow through North Carolina. There are 17 river basins that make up North Carolina. I have focused on the Yadkin-Pedee as it is the river basin in which I live. The main channel of the Yadkin-Pedee River is shown in blue on Map 2. It begins its journey in Watauga County near Blowing Rock, North Carolina. It moves southeasterly across 12 counties, where it eventually flows into South Carolina. It continues its journey southeasterly until it reaches Winyaw Bay in the Atlantic Ocean. In western North Carolina, there are multiple ancient faults that were formed during the Paleozoic mountain building events, 480 to 300 million years ago. Faulting and folding of the region occurred, helping to create the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains. These are labeled in purple on Map 2. The most significant fault in western part of North Carolina is the Brevard Fault Zone. It is labeled in orange. This fault extends from Alabama to Virginia. And although North Carolina has experienced seismic activity throughout its past, these have typically been small events with earthquakes being less than a magnitude 3. There have been multiple orogenic events throughout North Carolina's history, the first being the Grenville orogeny 1.1 billion years ago, helping to form the basement rock of the Blue Ridge Mountains. 4.6 million years ago, the Taconic orogeny would begin the process of forming Appalachian Mountains. 350 million years ago, the Acadian orogeny would continue to uplift and erode the Appalachian Mountains. And the last orogeny event was the Alleghanian, which would be the last event that uplifted the Appalachian Mountains as Pangea formed. The state fossil for North Carolina was voted on and named in 2013. It is a megalodon shark's tooth. They are most typically found near the coast in Wilmington, North Carolina, having the highest concentration of finds. A fossil of interest, which was also marked on Map 2 with a pink star located in Stanley County, is the pteridinium fossil. This fossil helped rewrite the geologic history of North Carolina. The oldest rocks in North Carolina are found at Roan Mountain near Bakersville, North Carolina. They are 1.8 billion years old. These rocks would have formed as Rodinia was being formed, and they are found in the western Blue Ridge Mountains. Morrow Mountain State Park is the protected site I have chosen to investigate. It is nestled in the Uwharrie Mountains, spanning across several of North Carolina's counties. The Uwharries formed around 500 million years ago through continental accretion as Gondwana was forming. The hills of the Uwharries are mere remnants of what they once were, and it is believed that at one point they were well over 20,000 feet in height. Today, the highest peak comes in just under 2,000 feet high. In the 1930s, support to turn Morrow Mountain into a state park helped form a committee to acquire land that would be managed by the North Carolina Department of Conservation and Development. Throughout the 30s and 40s, the federal government helped to develop the park by using rocks quarried from within to build bridges and buildings that are still in use today. Morrow Mountain is not just an erosional remnant of a once massive mountain chain. It was also home to indigenous peoples who used these same quarried rocks to help build tools and homes. Reed Gold Mine is a mine that is now open as a state historical park. What does a Hessian mercenary from Germany who deserted the British Army, a 12-year-old boy, a murdered woman, and an impoverished slave, a bankrupt landowner, and a failed mining company have in common? They're all part of the geologic history of Cabarrus and Stanley counties, especially the gold history of North Carolina. Reed Gold Mine was the first authenticated discovery of gold in the United States. In 1799, John Reed's son Conrad found a large yellow rock in a creek near their farm one afternoon. From this point forward, the land was owned and mined by a number of people, with the last operation going bankrupt within a year of taking over. Reed Gold Mine would eventually be taken over and turned into a state historic site in 1971. It is open still to this day for visitors of the grounds, mines, and an opportunity for those visiting to pan for gold.